Okay, let me make sure that this is streaming now, and then we'll get right back into it. I think this is going to work a little bit better. Uh, Apparently, I wasn't sending enough information over to YouTube, so it was causing the stream to stutter, and I don't want that bad experience for you guys. All right, so do apologize if that kind of was annoying. Just know that it was annoying for me too. But hopefully, um, this is coming through for you. And YouTube is saying I have an excellent connection. So let's go ahead and get started with this live stream because that's what you all came here for. And just pop out the chat again. That way I can keep an eye on everybody who is sharing their thoughts and comments. All right. So let's go ahead and jump over to ON1. No, that doesn't want to work either. So we're just going to jump back. All right. So when we left off, we were looking at these muffins, and I was just showcasing the challenge of selecting. Oh, don't want to select that. Let me unselect that. And it doesn't want to unselect. There we go. So you can select, or it seems like it's doing a good job at selecting the muffins here and over here, but down here, it's just not selecting. So what we're going to do was add that antique filter. So I'm just going to hit add, and then we'll hit done. And I wanted to do something that kind of showcased how, like, something random and over the top crazy. I don't think you would ever do this. But let's just say that we wanted to. Now, what I'm going to do is hit Shift X. I'm going to go to Paint In, and I'm just going to paint in over this particular segment of the muffin that AI Super Select didn't want to get, or Super Select AI didn't want to get. Now, I'm not as concerned about a crazily precise mask when it comes to doing things like this, right? I think that it is important. So I am not saying that things need to be on a pass here. But for me, I don't need it to be that precise, right? None of my work is getting pixel peeped. And for many of my clients that I work with, for them, it's all about the moment. So as long as my editing doesn't take away from the moment, it doesn't have to be the most precise mask. Now, if I have a mask that looks like that, they're going to be able to look at that and be like, whoa, wait a minute. That is not what we paid for. So, within reason. But if I had a mask that looked like this, and let's say that they wanted some dusty looking muffins, then I just accomplished my my job, right? And I got that in fairly short amount of time. I think it'll go a little bit faster if I were not streaming this and talking through it, because then I would just start doing instead of streaming. Good morning, Leon. Good morning. So just keep that in mind. Food for thought. It is not perfect. And again, this is pre-release. So just wanted to kind of show how you can get things done pretty quickly. I think, there's a lot of content out there on YouTube right now that's talking about Super Select AI and really showcasing Super Select AI. So what I really wanted to do this morning was go over some of the other things that maybe aren't being discussed as often, and that is the Tac Sharp AI. And I know that there's no content out there, but let's go ahead and take a look at this image right here. Now, this was taken with a Nikon D3400, and I used a 50mm lens, and It was, I had some extension tubes on it. I was hand holding this and, I got this, right? I would imagine this is a bad image, and I am going to stress the Tac Sharp AI. I am not saying that this is what you should use Tac Sharp AI on, like the type of photos, because that is not true. All right. I would not recommend, honestly, unless you're going for like blurry, abstract photos. I would not, I repeat, I would not use this, but for fun, and I think it'll be interesting to see how it works. Let's just go ahead and try Tac Sharp AI on it and see what happens. All right. So we'll click it and we'll let it think for a second here. It's thinking pretty quick this morning. So that's good for us. And like you heard me say before, I like to look at this at fit. It just automatically zooms in. In fact, I think you can turn that off. I just haven't bothered with it. But yeah, it didn't do anything. So this is my point that I was trying to make in my Tac Sharp AI video, is that if you are going to use a tool, know when to use it and what it's appropriate to be used on. Tac Sharp AI is 100% not appropriate to be used on an image like this. Honestly, unless you're going for, this blurry, abstract look, this image is probably a throwaway. And I know that some people, they were potentially hoping that Tac Sharp AI would be like their image saver, where if they got something that came out of camera not quite the way that they expected it to, they'll be able to throw it in ON1, hit the magic Tac Sharp AI button, and boom, they got a good photo. The general rule of thumb in photography is garbage in, garbage out. And I feel like that's equivalent to a lot of things, or appropriate for a lot of things. But if you put bad photos into ON1, you will get a bad photo back. Now, that just depends on how bad it is, right? Because we're going to take a look at this next photo here, which is, again, on the D3400. I took a photo of a bee who was on these flowers, the exact same flowers that I showed in the previous photo. Let's see what happens when we throw Tac Sharp AI on this. Now, this one has a little bit more focus, but not a whole lot more. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with the wings, because there is some detail. Like you can make out, and I don't know how well it's coming through on YouTube, but you can make out a lot of stuff. And it looks like there's going to be some artifacting. And this is a little bit more sharp of an image, but still not something that you will have as a keeper. At least I would not use this as a keeper. I don't think that this, like, could you make out what it is? Absolutely. This would be like one of those things, like if you wanted to show someone a blurry image and be like, what do you think this is? It could be a fun game, but they'll never be able to see a sharp version of the image. So, not something that I would personally use. Again, just showing what can be done inside of ON1 with that. Now, let me show you an image where maybe you can use Tac Sharp AI. And I think this image was just a little out of focus. I shot this with my Canon EOS R, and I was using a 24-105. Now, this might be the appropriate image to put Tac Sharp AI on, because there really is a lot of detail. Now, the challenge with this one is I do have a higher ISO than I would potentially like to be at, but it's not like insanely high that you can't recover information. So I'm going to start with just Tac Sharp, But I also selected this one so we can try out the both feature, which I haven't tried. So you guys are going to see firsthand how that works for me. It's just loading the I don't know why it says no noise down here. I only clicked on Tac Sharp, but we'll leave it be. Now, this one is giving a lot of heavy artifacting, and you know, I'll have to do more testing on animals, because if you are an animal photographer, I'm not sure if artifacting is just going to be the story of your life, right? Now, this again is this is me looking at the image with fit zoom, or just where I would normally edit an image as I apply filters and stuff like that. But there is a lot of artifacting going on here. I've already shown how you can fix the artifacting issue, and that's just by creating a duplicate, resetting all of the information on that particular file. Sorry, my dog was dreaming and he was scratching the bookshelf. So, but I've already shown how you can correct this particular challenge. So I'm not going to show that here, but if you're not familiar, what you do is you take a mask, or I'm sorry, you duplicate the layer, you reset the top layer, and then you just paint in where you need the sharpening. That seems to be the most effective way, and that's also the response from ON1 when the feature was requested on the Raw project, which if you're not following the Raw project, then you really should if you're a Photo Raw user, because that's your way of keeping up with what ON1 Photo Raw is trying to add into the software, and then you can also suggest things that you would like to see in the software. Okay. So moral of the story, they're not going to add a masking feature. That, at least from what I read in the Raw project, they're not going to add a masking feature. So we are left with the layer option, where you create a duplicate, you erase or you reset that layer, the top layer, and then you just paint in the area that you want the mask to be at. All right. So we're going to go ahead and hit apply. Don't hit done. I did that in the Tac Sharp AI video. Again, I make the mistakes, so you don't have to, but don't hit the done option, hit the apply option, and it'll get you to something that looks like this. And then of course you got to go back and turn Okay, had to wake up my dog. He was dreaming pretty good over there. All right, so that's Tac Sharp AI on here. Now let's try both, because I'm curious. There is noise in the image. Honestly, I would have been okay with the amount of noise that was in this particular image, but in the event that you're like, you know what, I just can't deal with the noise. I want to, and I need to sharpen the image. Wonder how it works with that. And interestingly, if you are using No Noise AI and Tac Sharp AI, the artifacts, they're not there. Or, I mean, they're there, just not as obvious as they were previously. So that's interesting. And it is sharpening the image, so it is working. And then of course you just have to go back and mask that in. I think where you're going to run into the challenge is if you use both, you're going to have to, man, that's going to be tough. Because if you need to mask this in right now, you'll have to have 2 or 3 copies, right? one with no noise, one with Tac Sharp, and then one without. And then you just have to mask in the areas that you want. Or if you're going to use no noise over the entire image, then you put the no noise version on the version that you're. Yeah, that's going to be tough. That's going to be a problem set to work through. So if you want to use no noise AI and Tac Sharp, I think the best way of doing it is to create two separate layers and then create a third layer with nothing. This is going to give you the ability, and you're essentially just going to use each one of these individually. Now, that's only if you really need to mask in everything. And we're going to take a look at Tac Sharp AI on a different animal. So let's just go ahead and close this, hit OK. Because I don't need to save any of this. Let's see. I think I nailed focus on this one. Let me take a look. I guess it's a little soft focused. We'll take a look at the focus mask. I was using the animal AI or the animal eye detect when I went to the zoo, and I think it works really well. And I also think that this is a very in focus image, so I wouldn't use Tac Sharp on this. But let's see what happens when you use Tac Sharp AI on an image that you do think is already pretty good. Let's see what ON1 does with it, and maybe ON1 comes up with a little bit more of a sharp image, and that comes through. But if you guys can do me a favor, because I'm getting all these alerts from YouTube that enough information isn't being pushed to them, but my streaming software is telling me that it's pushing plenty. Let me know in the comment section below what the viewing experience is like inside of YouTube, because yeah, I just want to make sure you guys are getting a good viewing experience, and I don't want to waste anyone's time with a bad one. But back to the photo, you can see here, if I zoom out, there's again those artifacts, and I think that's just because there's fine hairs on the animal. And we're going to look at Tac Sharp AI on another image that maybe doesn't have as many small micro contrast. Now, I haven't done any adjustments to the settings over here. If I reduce the micro sharpening, and I think you'll have to reduce this quite a bit. If I do that, it doesn't want to reset right now. So let's move down the de-blur. Like I said, moving this to about 50. And just because my mouse doesn't want to drag, we're going to go with 54. And let's see what happens here. Because if you can get rid of some of these artifacts, right, then I think you'll have better results. And I think this is actually, it works out on this particular image a little bit better, at least around in this area, right? Because the animal is the same color as the artifact. So it looks like it's a part of the texture to the animal and not an artifact from over processing, right? Now, as you come down here into the neck of the animal, it starts to look like digital noise. And this was shot at 4000 ISO, so it might be picking up on a little bit of noise. So let's see what happens when we run no noise and Tac Sharp on it at the same time. Now, we're going to let that breathe here a little bit as it loads. But take a look. There are two options here. There's the no noise option, which is to be expected. And you can choose which model you're using for the no noise rendering system. And I'm not using high detail on this one because there's already a lot of detail. But then, you have all of your settings and this reset to 100. So maybe if we pull this down, let's go 38. Let's see what happens at 38. And hopefully this goes. Okay. Thanks, Leon. I appreciate that. I am probably going to have to invest in some, yeah. I'm going to have to invest in a different program. I'm using OBS, which is a free program. I set it up to the best of my capability. So I will have to figure out a better way. I do appreciate both of you leaving the comment there. And yeah, I'm looking at it. It says that I'm dropping 8%, but I do appreciate you guys sticking around, and hopefully the stream improves, because according to OBS, it's got a green little box. But I'll definitely get that fixed for next time. So thank you. Now, this is, in my opinion, a little bit better of an image. So let's just go ahead and hit apply. And I want to try the masking option that I was referring to. So if I duplicate this layer, and then on this top copy, I'm just rename it no AI stuff. There. That way we know that there's no AI stuff involved here, right? And then what I'm going to do is come down here and just hit the reset button. Brings us back to classic. So the top one has none of the AI processing. The bottom one has all of the AI processing. And if I know that I only want to mask this into the face, then I can just come over here and mask this in. And if you are already familiar with this option, sorry, I need to invert that. No, I need to go Shift X. Thinking about too many things at once. And now I can just paint over the face. And then when I let that go, if I hit the letter O, you can see it's just punching a hole in the mask. So now all of my sharpening is just, in there. And thanks, Leon. I'm sorry that the stream isn't working. We will re-engage again next week, but I'm going to finish this one up because, I want to stay true to that. But yeah, it is not working. I will definitely have this fixed. I did run a test yesterday and it was working perfectly fine. I'm not sure what happened between yesterday and today, but yeah, I can understand the frustration, but thank you. I do appreciate your feedback. So yeah, now that I have that masked, I think that looks good. You can go on and start doing your editing like normal. So I'm just going to close that out because I don't want to save that. We'll hit OK. And a feature, because I think the Tac Sharp AI no noise, everyone is probably pretty familiar. And the one that I was the most excited for, and, again, this is a beta version of the software or pre-release version of the software. So I'm not going to hold it too accountable, but this photo, it exists in a cataloged folder. The keyword scan didn't happen. Now, I would love to hit scan, but because I'm already having enough computer issues, for whatever reason, I don't know why, I'm not going to hit scan for the live stream. But just know that sometimes it's not going to find the images and scan them automatically, even though I have it set up to do that. Anything that's in a catalog folder is supposed to scan the images automatically. And you can set that up if I hit Command comma here and open up the preferences, except for it doesn't want to open with the keyboard shortcut. So everything just, when one thing doesn't want to work, everything doesn't want to work. If you come over to Keyword AI, which is inside of the preferences, it's a new menu in 2023. Right here where it says scan catalog folders with Keyword AI. That's how you set that up. Now you can uncheck this and it will turn off that feature altogether. So if you don't want it to scan all your images, then you can uncheck it and that'll work. Now, as far as identifying northern or southern hemisphere, I didn't dig too deep into these particular settings. All I did was really just test out the keywords to see, or the scan feature, because I did have to run scan on a few folders. There were some images that were scanned, and I'm not sure how the beta software decided which ones to scan and which ones not to scan. But the search feature, so if I come over here to search, and it opened on a separate window, so I'm just going to drag this over. I'm searching the everything and I type in dog. All right. So it's thinking, my webcam is kind of covering that down here, but it is thinking, and we'll see what it pulls up. Now, there's a particular image that I'm looking for that is of a dog that we had a few years back. I know where the photo is stored, but I want to see if ON1 can read through my cataloged images and actually find the photo of the dog that I'm thinking of. Now, this has taken a long time, I think, because the dog, or the photo of the dog, hasn't been cataloged. And now when I ran this test before, because I did test out everything that I'm showing you guys, the dog showed up, or I'm sorry, photos of my dog showed up, but not the photo I was looking for. So I had to go back, make sure it was in the catalog folder, and then I was like, yeah, and it's clearly a picture of a dog. Like, it's not a picture of a cow or a cat or a moose. Like, it's definitely a dog, and it's looking straight at the camera. But for whatever reason, the AI here wasn't able to pick it up, and this is just going to take forever. So I'm going to close this out because I don't want to waste your guys' time. But ultimately, those were the things that I wanted to cover in the live stream. And so now it wants to show the photos of the dog. When I say I'm going to close it out, it brings up all of the photos, which is fine. But I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm streaming pre-release software. Now, this is not the photo. Like, obviously this is a picture of a dog looking straight into the camera, but there's actually another photo. This is my dog. His name is Bentley. From many years back, I had a photo of him laying down on his bed looking into the camera, and I was just messing with him and I snapped a photo. But for whatever reason, that photo never showed up when I searched for dog. So yeah, but for the sake of everyone's sanity of not watching me jump through, a stop motion, I don't want that. That's a bad experience overall. I think we're going to call the stream here. And I am going to schedule another restream after I get probably a better piece of software that can keep up with the demand of all of the graphics that are rendering. So I truly do apologize for the quality of the stream today. And, maybe I just needed to produce more videos until I get to a point where the live stream thing works out. But I do appreciate all of you coming by and, just showing your support. So what I will do, though, is I'll answer any questions that you may have specifically about the experience inside of ON1. Good, bad, and different, right? I can't speak to what it's going to be like when it does finally release, but I can tell you what it feels like using Super Select AI, which, that's like the big feature that everyone is really hype about. And, I'll share my particular view of using that, which is it works, but it requires refinement, and it, requires refinement a little bit more than you would probably like for it to, but that's okay, I think, because it's only going to get better with time. Like the first release of anything is usually not that good. If we think about it, like the first version of ON1 Photo Raw probably was not very good, or at least not as good as it is today. So that's a huge benefit for everyone involved, right? That they improve the software over time. I think the same thing is going to happen with Super Select AI. So for the initial release, or at least the first iteration of putting Super Select AI in their software, I think it's doing a very good job. And, I hesitate a little bit to say very, just because there are some nuances, but, I'm not a developer, and this is not me